The typical image of Florida's affluence probably conjures visions of the glowing neon landscape of South Beach. Perhaps you imagine the gleaming superyachts docked in Fort Lauderdale, or the showy vacationers strolling along Ocean Drive. However, these are merely the outward signs of prosperity, not the genuine foundation of it. Florida's genuine fortunes are carefully concealed in places that casual visitors would never dream of exploring. It's found within the immense sugarcane plantations of the Glades, the exclusive maritime ports of Miami, and the unassuming, sprawling suburban strip malls. These locations are the domain of the formidable dynasties that maintain an iron grip on the Sunshine State. At number 12, we find the Collier family, an empire often referred to as the Swamp Barons. To truly grasp the framework of Florida's immense wealth, one has to begin where it all started in the muck and mud. Long before he ever ventured into a single swamp, Baron G. Collier had already established himself as a giant of industry. He amassed an incredible fortune from streetcar advertising in New York City back in the early 1900s. He was the pioneer of the commuter advertisement, yet rather than retiring to a peaceful northeastern estate, he had other plans. His ambitions turned toward what was considered America's final frontier, the expansive Florida Everglades. Collier proceeded to acquire a staggering 1.3 million acres of undeveloped wild swampland for a mere pittance. During that period, the state was financially insolvent and desperately trying to finish construction of the Tamiami Trail. This crucial highway project was envisioned to finally connect the cities of Tampa and Miami. The construction effort was quite literally being swallowed by the treacherous muddy terrain. Seizing the opportunity, Collier presented the state with a proposal that was simply impossible to reject. He pledged to personally finance the highway's completion using his own substantial funds. His demand in return was straightforward, but it would go down in Florida history. The state was required to establish an entirely new county and officially name it in his honor. To this day, the Collier family retains control over approximately 280,000 acres of highly valuable Southwest Florida real estate, but their influence extended far beyond merely purchasing vast tracts of land. They meticulously shaped the growth of Naples, transforming the area into one of the planet's most affluent cities. The family's collective net worth is currently calculated to be in excess of $3.5 billion. Yet the true masterstroke of the Collier dynasty wasn't simply constructing lavish golf courses. It was their shrewd move to retain ownership of all the subsurface mineral rights. They leased the surface land for farming and luxury retail developments, all while simultaneously extracting oil and valuable minerals from deep below. While most outsiders perceive Naples as simply a tranquil paradise for retirees, they remain unaware that it is in fact a meticulously engineered, privately controlled dominion. This entire empire was constructed by one advertising magnate who recognized the immense potential hidden within the mud. Ranking at number 11 is the France family, a powerful clan known as the Asphalt Dynasty. William Bill France Sr. first came to Daytona Beach in 1935, possessing little more than $100 and his set of mechanics' tools. He entered a local scene where moonshiners and bootleggers regularly raced their customized cars on the firm-packed beach sand. While many simply saw a disorderly pastime, France astutely recognized a massive untapped commercial opportunity. He proceeded to bring these fiercely independent races together under a single powerful governing organization, NASCAR. In doing so, he established more than just a sport. He engineered a personal monopoly that functioned as a self-contained closed system. For more than 75 years, the France family has maintained an exceptionally tight grip on NASCAR's operations. They shrewdly resisted any temptation to take the company public, ensuring that all power remained strictly within the family bloodline. They are the ones who establish the regulations, impose the financial penalties, and ultimately profit from every single transaction. The family's most decisive strategic maneuver was establishing the International Speedway Corporation. By owning the racetracks themselves, they guaranteed that irrespective of which driver won the race, the France family was always the ultimate financial winner. Then, in 2019, they orchestrated a $2 billion merger designed to bring those speedways back under the family's direct private control. This calculated move was intended to further shield their growing empire from any form of public oversight or scrutiny. Their family fortune is now valued at an estimated $6.2 billion. The fundamental thing that most people fail to grasp about NASCAR is its essential nature. It is not simply a dot model motorsport circuit. This is a family-run media empire where the vehicles serve merely as stage dressing for the immensely lucrative multi-billion-dollar television broadcasting contracts, which are entirely governed by a singular Daytona-based dynasty that operates entirely shielded from the unpredictable fluctuations of the financial markets. Number 10, the DeBartolo family, renowned as the Plaza Kings. The DeBartolo saga originates with Edward DeBartolo Sr., the visionary entrepreneur who practically pioneered the concept of the contemporary suburban shopping center. He astutely perceived early in the game that the post-war American ideal was intrinsically linked to automobiles and suburban life, prompting him to reshape the American landscape to facilitate this new reality. Yet it was his son Eddie DeBartolo Jr. who would ultimately anchor the dynasty's immense influence in Tampa. Eddie Jr. skillfully redirected the constant stream of revenue produced by the family's vast retail holdings to acquire the San Francisco 49ers, masterfully building them into a legendary sports dynasty that ultimately captured 5 Super Bowl championships. He managed the team with a signature combination of fierce loyalty and extravagant expenditures, earning a reputation as an owner who truly cared for his players. After a legal controversy involving a Louisiana riverboat casino compelled Eddie to withdraw from the NFL, most observers anticipated that the family's prominence would diminish. On the contrary, they strategically shifted their focus, working from their corporate hub in Tampa. The Bartolo Holdings evolved into a formidable real estate and private equity powerhouse. Presently, with his daughters at the helm, the family's net worth exceeds $4.8 billion. Their most impressive maneuver, however, was not the collection of Super Bowl rings. It was the remarkable foresight they showed in divesting from the conventional retail sector. They cashed out their fortune at the zenith of the shopping mall age and discreetly began acquiring prime Sunbelt real estate right before the major population surge of the early 2000s. As the conventional retail market slowly collapses, the DeBartolo family presides over an unassailable empire constructed of Florida apartments, luxurious hotels, and premium mixed-use properties. Coming in at number 9, the Huizenga family, known as the Masters of the Roll-Up H. Wayne Huizenga, holds the unique distinction of being the sole individual in American history to establish 3 distinct Fortune 500 corporations from scratch, and he accomplished this entire feat from his home base in Fort Lauderdale. His journey started with just one second-hand garbage truck, personally running the collection routes on his own. Through the aggressive acquisition of hundreds of independent sanitation companies, he forged the massive corporation Waste Management. After perfecting this roll-up business model, he then deployed it across other fractured industries. Observing a chaotic landscape of local video rental stores, he consolidated them into the giant Blockbuster Video. He then noticed a highly disorganized sector of automobile dealerships, and from that he built AutoNation. His method was straightforward yet utterly ruthless. Identify mundane but vital industries, systematically absorb all the small-time competition through buyouts, and then impose corporate streamlining and efficiency. At the height of his power, Huizenga held ownership of the Miami Dolphins, the Florida Panthers, and the Florida Marlins all at the same time, a move that established him as the unchallenged sovereign of South Florida sports. He did more than simply reside in the area. In many ways, he commanded its corporate and cultural framework. After his death in the year 2018, his descendants now oversee a multi-billion-dollar inheritance that is profoundly integrated within Florida's key commercial sectors. Huizenga was more than just a visionary in the realms of entertainment or waste management. He was a genius at standardizing operations for massive scale. His enduring legacy provides the exact blueprint for transforming one lone truck into a lasting multi-generational dynasty. Number 8. The Glazer family, known as the Transatlantic Syndicate. Malcolm Glazer was a famously ruthless asset manager who launched his career starting with a modest watch repair business before eventually venturing into the less than glamorous domain of mobile home parks and high-yield junk bonds from their base in Palm Beach. In 1995, he orchestrated a colossal power play by acquiring the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ultimately transforming a franchise known for consistent failure into a celebrated Super Bowl champion. However, the family's most stunning feat of financial maneuvering took place on the other side of the Atlantic. In 2005, the Glazers orchestrated an extremely contentious leveraged buyout of Manchester United, which was at the time the most valuable football club on the planet. They purchased the organization using borrowed funds that were secured against the club's own valuable assets, a strategy that essentially compelled the team to finance its own takeover. In the face of years of passionate protests from their worldwide fan base, the Glazers proceeded to extract hundreds of millions of dollars through personal dividends, all while the organization's market value continued its meteoric rise, with a family fortune now approaching $10.5 billion. They stand as an illustration of a grim reality in modern wealth creation. These individuals are not fundamentally sports enthusiasts. Instead, they are shrewd financial operators who have recognized that the loyalty of sports fans represents a perfectly inelastic commodity. Supporters will almost never forsake their cherished team, regardless of the mountains of debt the ownership accumulates. The Glazers have expertly transformed that global devotion into a guaranteed, unshakable revenue stream benefiting their powerful Palm Beach dynasty. At number 7, we find the Fangel family, known as the Sugar Kings. After Fidel Castro's rise to power in Cuba back in 1959, the Fangel family was stripped of nearly everything they owned, immense multi-generational sugar plantations, which had established them as the undisputed royalty of the island. They escaped to Florida, carrying little else besides their deep institutional knowledge of the lucrative sugar industry. There they acquired inexpensive overlooked swampland within the Everglades and proceeded to construct a brand new empire from the ground up. At present, Alfonso Alfie Fangel and his brother Jose Pepe Fangel preside over a commercial enterprise with an estimated value of almost $9 billion. Their renowned brands such as Florida Crystals and Domino Sugar completely command the American marketplace. However, their true brilliance is not found in agriculture but within the corridors of Washington, D.C. The Fangels grasped from the very beginning that sugar operates as a political commodity rather than a free market good. Consequently, they have perfected the art of cultivating bipartisan influence. Alfie is renowned as a Democratic Party powerhouse, whereas Pepo is known as a Republican megadonor. Their most significant power play involves the ceaseless protection of U.S. sugar tariffs and import quotas. This specific legislation blocks inexpensive foreign sugar from ever reaching the U.S. market, which has the effect of compelling American consumers to pay substantially inflated prices. This amounts to a hidden tax on every candy bar and soft drink purchased in the United States, which in turn directly subsidizes the vast Fangel empire. These men are not merely simple farmers. They are in fact apex political operators who effectively dictate the nation's trade policy from the comfort of their Palm Beach mansions, guaranteeing that they will never have to contend with any genuine competition. Coming in at number 6, the DeLuca family, the so-called franchise phantoms. Fred DeLuca famously secured a $1,000 loan from a family friend in order to launch a submarine sandwich shop located in Connecticut, with the initial intention of just paying for his medical school tuition fees. That single shop would eventually become Subway, the world's largest restaurant chain, based on its sheer number of locations. After Fred passed away, his widow, Elizabeth DeLuca, inherited the entire empire, and she now manages the family's immense wealth from her residence in Pompano Beach. The truly terrifying genius behind the Subway business model was its fundamental structure. You see, the family never actually owned the restaurants themselves. Instead, they owned the system. The family levied an 8% royalty fee based on every single franchisee's total gross sales. So if a location, even when a franchise couldn't afford its rent or its employees, the DeLuca family never failed to take their customary 8% slice from every single dollar that the business generated. They offloaded the entirety of the business risk onto their franchisees, all while securing the guaranteed income for themselves. Their most significant strategic maneuver came not long ago when the family dynasty finalized the sale of Subway to Roark Capital for a breathtaking $9.55 billion. And while naysayers argued that the brand's appeal was fading, the DeLuca family was completely insulated from the day-to-day difficulties. They ultimately cashed out, securing one of the most substantial and readily available cash fortunes ever seen in Florida's history. Their enterprise was never really about sandwiches. It was an intellectual property venture, and they liquidated their assets at the perfect market high point. Now for number 5, the Reyes family, who are masters of distribution. Jude and J. Christopher Reyes represent two of the most influential figures in American business whom you have probably never encountered by name. These men aren't making the beer or grilling the patties, yet they command the entire supply chain to your table. Whenever you enjoy a Modelo or consume a Big Mac, there's a strong chance you're adding money straight into their coffers. Their journey began when they established Reyes Holdings through the acquisition of a minor, financially troubled Schlitz beer distributorship in South Carolina. Now it stands as the biggest beer distributor across the entire United States and serves as the main logistics partner for McDonald's operations worldwide. They have perfected the role of the indispensable intermediary. Their command of cold chain logistics ensures that corporate America remains well fed and its thirst quenched. Acknowledging the burdensome tax climate of their initial headquarters in Illinois, the two brothers orchestrated a colossal relocation of their fortune down to Florida. They shifted their main homes into the highly exclusive communities of Palm Beach and Hobe Sound, thereby protecting their immense $30 billion fortune from an estate income tax. Their story perfectly illustrates a fundamental principle of Florida's wealthy. You don't have to create the product. You simply have to achieve a monopoly over the transportation that brings it to market. They possess the actual levers of the economy, conducting their business in virtual anonymity from behind the walls of their vast seaside properties. Coming in at number 4 is the Addison family, the undisputed emperors of the ocean. Ted Addison launched Carnival Cruise Lines back in the 1970s, starting with just one vessel that notoriously became stuck on a sandbar during its very first trip. However, it was his son, Mickey Addison, who transformed that precarious beginning into a colossal floating empire spanning the globe. Headquartered in Miami, the Carnival Corporation currently controls approximately half of the world's total cruise industry. The true financial genius of the Addison dynasty is not found in their poolside attractions or lavish buffets. Instead, it is rooted in their expert command of maritime law. Through the clever strategy of registering their corporation in Panama and sailing under foreign flags on their vessels, they have lawfully evaded United States corporate taxation, environmental protection rules, and standard minimum wage requirements. They run their operations from Florida's ports and advertise heavily to American customers. Nevertheless, for many decades, their actual corporate tax rate has consistently remained close to 0%. Mickey Addison solidified his influence in the region by acquiring the Miami Heat basketball team, and by successfully recruiting LeBron James to South Beach. He raised his family's prominence to an almost mythical level. Possessing a net worth of $11.4 billion, the Addisons are not merely managing a vacation business. They command a fleet of independent offshore tax havens that conveniently feature luxurious guest accommodations. At number 3, we have the Jenkins family, the titans of the grocery world. Back in 1930, George Jenkins made the bold move of quitting his position at Piggly Wiggly to establish a different type of grocery market, which he named Publix. In the present day, Publix represents far more than just a supermarket. It has become a Southern cultural institution. A cultural institution. The Jenkins family's creation was far more than a simple grocery store. They forged a $12.5 billion unassailable empire with their ownership model serving as their ultimate defense. Publix holds the distinction of being the largest employee-owned corporation in the entire United States. Although the founding family maintains control of roughly 20% of the stock, the vast 80% majority belongs to its employees. By offering their staff a direct stake in the company's success, the family cultivated an unparalleled degree of dedication and service that conventional competitors find impossible to replicate. This unique ownership model also renders the corporation entirely invulnerable to hostile takeovers from predatory Wall Street firms. However, their most formidable power play is their shrewd real estate strategy. Publix seldom settles for just leasing a retail space. They aggressively acquire entire shopping plazas where they function as the main draw. They attract all the customer flow and then proceed to charge premium rents to the neighboring nail salons and restaurants. They are a formidable property monopoly, cleverly concealed behind the facade of a welcoming neighborhood supermarket, exercising more concentrated economic control in Florida communities than almost any other single entity. Coming in at number 2 are the Griffins, the architects of the financial behemoth Citadel. For many years, Miami was perceived as a sun-drenched playground for dubious individuals or a quiet final stop for wealthy retirees. Ken Griffin completely shattered that narrative. The founder of the $62 billion hedge fund Citadel orchestrated one of the most audacious corporate relocations in modern history. Citing escalating crime rates and tax burdens in Chicago, he uprooted his entire financial dynasty and transplanted it to Miami. His acquisitions went far beyond a personal residence. He is making a calculated play to own the city's very future. Griffin has already channeled more than $1 billion into his personal real estate portfolio alone, which includes a huge consolidation of land in Palm Beach and extravagantly priced estates in Coconut Grove. He is currently bankrolling a landmark skyscraper project in the city's Brickell financial district, destined to become the new global headquarters for what is being called Wall Street South. With a personal fortune approaching $50 billion, Griffin is actively remolding the Miami skyline, while simultaneously injecting enormous sums of money into the local political machinery. He has no intention of simply joining Florida's established elite. His goal is to completely displace them. He is proving that with sufficient financial might, a single family can completely re-engineer the entire economic DNA of a major American metropolis in a time span of less than 5 years. And in the number 1 position, we find the Bezos family, the undisputed new monarchs of Miami. The state's most affluent dynasty represents a very recent and significant homecoming. Jeff Bezos, the visionary founder of Amazon, recently departed from Seattle to re-establish his base in Miami, the very same city where he completed his high school education. His net worth exceeds $218 billion. But this move is about much more than a man chasing warmer weather. It is a highly coordinated family consolidation. Bezos has been methodically purchasing multiple properties on the exclusive Indian Creek Island, an enclave commonly referred to as the billionaire bunker, channeling hundreds of millions of dollars to guarantee complete seclusion and absolute security. In a parallel move, his parents Mike and Jackie Bezos have poured tens of millions into constructing their own expansive waterfront compounds down in Coral Gables. His brother Mark is just as involved in both private equity markets and the family's various philanthropic endeavors. While the old established Florida dynasties built their fortunes on sugar swamp land and shipping, the Bezos family constructed their entire empire upon the fundamental infrastructure of the internet itself. By concentrating their vast assets in Florida, they are strategically sidestepping the impending wealth taxes of the Pacific Northwest, all while founding a multi-generational trillion-dollar dynasty within a zero-income tax haven. They signify the ultimate evolution of Florida wealth. Their financial empire is so dominant on a global scale that they don't even need to influence the state. They are quite simply in the process of absorbing it. And there, so the picture is now clear, Florida isn't just for vacations anymore. It's now a fortified tax-exempt haven for the global power players. For insight into who truly controls our world, the Financial Trail tells all. Like and subscribe for more from Global Status.